Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's lesson, Fast Track Functional Skills Maths. We're on week 3. Really sorry that I can't be here with you today, but I've done this online recorded lesson so that it will give you an idea of what we would have been covering in class. So hopefully you won't miss anything from it and you'll still be able to go over this and you'll have experienced what week 3 would have been like. So, if you remember last week, you was given the homework of doing the BKSB areas for fractions, decimals, percentages, and ratios. We was looking at completing all of those areas. So hopefully you've all done that today. If not, you need to be looking at getting those done. So we're now on week 3. And what I want to look at in today's lesson is solving calculations involving mixed numbers and improper fractions. Calculating percentage increase and decrease, something I find learners get quite confused with at level 2 particularly, and solving problems which involve percentages. Now, at any point in this video, you can always stop it, pause it. If I tell you to pause to do an activity, please pause it. You can also go back over anything. So you have that as an extra thing to help you this week. So what I'd like to go over firstly is, before we go over to calculations with mixed numbers and improper numbers, which tends to confuse learners, I want us to think about simplifying numbers, simplifying fractions, because I do tend to find this is something we all get quite confused with as well. So if you ignore what's on my screen at the moment, and you can see now I've got the whiteboard going. Simplifying fractions means putting a fraction into its lowest form. If you read a newspaper, and let's say they had something like 200 out in every 1,000 people are infected with a common cold at the winter time. All right. And this is not in any way accurate. You know, this is just a random fraction here, but let's say that was an example. If you got the number 200 over 1,000 in a newspaper, it would look really weird. You wouldn't really be able to make much sense of that. So you always simplify fractions to put them in its lowest form so that you can understand them better. So there's 2 ways to simplify fractions. Firstly, we can, when we work with even numbers, even numbers are great in the fact that we can always half them, especially when they're big numbers and complicated numbers. We can just divide them by 2, because 2 goes into any even number. We can always half them. Okay. So what this means is that to simplify, we divide both the numerator, the top number, and the denominator, the bottom number, by 2. So 200 divided by 2, for example, is going to be 100. It's just half of it. That's what divide by 2 is. So if we've got 1,000, again, we can just half it. So half of 1,000 is 500. When you do this method, and sometimes the other method as well, which I'll show you, we are prone to sometimes get to numbers that we can simplify further. So for example, if we've got 100 over 500, we can divide both of those again. So if you want to keep dividing by 2s, you can, but it is a long-winded way. So if we divide this by 2, we've got 50 over 250. And if we go again, we've got 25 over 125. At this point, you've got odd numbers, so it won't work anymore. So the new method, the next method, will be what's useful here. You have to find a number that goes into the top and bottom number. So if we've got the number 25 and 125, I can think, well, I know that 25 goes into both of them. So if I divide by 25, the top number will be 1. It goes in there. once, and the bottom number would be 5 because 25 goes to 125 5 times. Once I'm down to this, 1 and 5, I'm at my lowest point. There's nothing else that can go in there. So the second method, okay, let's call this method 1, just to help you guys out. The second method is what I've just shown you with the 25 over 125. So if, for example, I have, let's say I have 350 over 700. The best way to simplify it, that will save you a lot of repeated processes. The idea you have to keep doing it again is to think what number goes into both of them. Okay, so for me, I know that 350 is half of 700. So I could divide both by 350. So if I divide the top by 350, it goes in there 1 time. So the top number is 1. And if I look at the bottom, 700, then we know it goes in there twice. It's half of that. You can't simplify any of that. So what can we take for that? Well, method 1 is nice for halving. It's easy, it's straightforward, but it'll only work with even numbers, and it can become long-winded. Method 2, however, is straight to the point and will take you right there. But obviously, it will rely on you being more confident with your multiplication. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop sharing the whiteboard. Okay, so if you need to make any notes or record this method at all, please do. And then I'm going to share the PowerPoint again. So at this point, these are the fractions that I would like you to give a go at simplifying. You've got level 1s on the left. So if you're studying level 1, please give a go at the ones on the left. If you're level 2, please give a go at the ones on the right, okay? You shouldn't use calculators for these. And we've got method 1, which is halving, or method 2, which is finding the biggest number that goes into both of them. I'd like you to give it a good go, give it a try at this point. If you stop the video and pause it, and then we'll carry on afterwards onto the next activity. Okay, so at this point, I'm now showing the answers on the board. If you can make a note of your score for your own use as much as anything else. If you have any queries about these, please do drop me an email. If you take a minute just to score yourself, see how you got on. And again, you can pause this video to have a look at these scores and mark. Okay. So I will share this PowerPoint later. You'll have access to this. So I'm not going to read through this last slide. I'm going to show you instead. Okay. So I'm going to look at improper fractions and mixed fractions, another confusing area for some learners. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to show on the whiteboard how we go about converting improper fractions to mixed fractions and mixed fractions to improper fractions. So here on my whiteboard now, an improper fraction is where we get a fraction where the top number is bigger than the bottom. Okay, so for example, we might have something like 7 over 3. And normally we'd be like, that doesn't make sense. How can you have 7/3? It's bigger. It's just one of those things, but it can help us to turn these into mixed numbers. And this is something that's generally a non-calculator paper skill. Level 1 tend to be asked to change improper fractions to mixed numbers or mixed numbers to improper fractions. Level 2 sometimes might be asked to compare them, so to find the equivalence. So if we want to convert 7/3 to a mixed number, okay, what we need to think is, how many times does 3 go into the top number? Okay, so what is 7 divided by 3? And the answer to that is 2, okay, because 2 3s give us 6. And then we say, what's left over from that? Well, if 2 3s are 6 and my number is 7, I've got 1 left over. So the leftover number goes at the top, and then the bottom number always stays the same. And therefore my mixed number is actually 2 1/3. Occasionally you may have to simplify these last ones, but not in this case. Okay, so that's one example. Let's try another one. So let's say we've got 16 over 5. Okay. So again, we say, right, how many times does 5 go into 16? Goes in there 3 times, okay? Because 5 times 3 is 15, and we can't go any higher. So the big number of the mixed fraction, the mixed fraction is just the big number and then the little fraction behind it. So that's 15. And then we say, how many is left over? Well, if 5 went in there 3 times to give you 15, and you got 16, you've got 1 left again. And then the bottom number, remember, is always staying the same. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put an example on the board. And put 5/2. And I would like you to pause the video and give that a go. Okay, so let's see what's involved with this one. So we need to think again, how many times does 2 go into the top number? 2 times 2 is 4, so that's 2. Again, we have 1 left over because it's 5 take away 4. The top number is 1. And the bottom fraction is 2, so we have 2 1/2. Okay, if you got on well at this point, have another look, carry on watching the video. If not, maybe have a look over it again and try to see what we've done there. Okay, at this point, I'm going to stop the video, clear the whiteboard rather. Okay, so now I'm going to look at turning mixed numbers to improper fractions. So let's say I've got a number 2 3/5. So I have to work a little bit backwards to this. To make this an improper fraction where the top number is bigger, firstly, what we do is we do the big number times the bottom number. Okay, so we multiply the 2 by the 5 to give us the top. That would give us the number 10. 2 times 5 is 10. Then once we've done that, we add the top bit. Okay, so 2 times 5 is 10. Add on 3. That gives us 13. Bottom number always stays the same. So my answer is 13/5. I'll show you another example. Let's say I've got 4 and 3/8. So again, I times the 4 and the 8. Okay. So 4/8 is 8, 16, 24, 32. And then we add the top. So 32, add 3. So 35/8 becomes my next number. So I'd now like you to give a go at the following fraction. Put 3 and 2/5. So pause the video at this point, give it a go, and then we'll go through it. Okay, so you should have done 3 times 15. 3 times 5 rather, apologies. So 3 times 5 is 15. Then add the 2 on, and that's 17. So the top number is 17. Bottom number, as I said, is the same. So it's 17/5. And again, if you got that, no problem. Move on to the next bit. If not, maybe have a look at the video again. Let's try and see how we figured it out. So at this point, I've got some questions on the board I'd like you to give a go at. So level 1s and 2s, I want you to convert mixed and improper fractions. And I think level 1s and 2s, you can both give a go at these. What you can do as an extension, though, is afterwards, when you've gone through all the way to question 10, have a look at the ones in the yellow box. You've got ones which are less than or which are more than. So which is the bigger fraction? Remember, if you're working out, what you've got to do, you've got to put them at the same kind of level so you can see which is the bigger fraction. So you're going to have to make them both improper numbers, improper fractions, or mixed numbers. Okay, so at this point, pause the video and then have a go at these. Okay, so I'll put the answers on the board now. So I'd like you to have a look at the answers. Give yourself a mark. Count them up. If any of these don't look correct or you're not sure of them, do let me know, as I said before. Give yourself a mark out of 10 and then a mark for the extension as well. So at this point, if you're still marking, just pause the video and go through. Okay. So activity here, pause this just for 1 minute, 1 minute only. In that minute, I want you to pick out as many words as you can find in this picture. Okay, how did you get on? So these are words that are to do with budgeting, shopping questions. So keywords are shopping, sale, So reduced costs, prices, increase, particularly percentages, percentage increase. How much have you saved? Reduced prices. Purchase, which means to buy. Deal. The interest. The annual percentage rate, so APR, interest. Simple interest, compound interest. Original value, percentage increase and percentage decrease. Okay. So any of these you're not sure of, do look them up and put them on your math dictionary. Okay, so here is the task that you're going to be doing. So I've got a scenario here on the board. Obviously, normally I like you guys to do these in groups, as you probably know by now. In this case, you'll be doing these on your own at home. So what you have here is a question. You're planning a party for 30 guests and have a budget of £75 for food and drink. On your shopping trip, the items on your shopping cards catch your eye. To help you plan the party, you need to do the following. You need to work out the costs, the new costs of each item, taking account of any sale prices or price increases. You need to decide what items you wish to choose and how much of each. You check you're within your budget or make adjustments. If not, you need to create a shopping list showing your items and quantities. You should include the total price and how much you have left. So firstly, find the new costs of each item. Decide which items you want and how many for the 30 guests. Check you're in the budget of £75. Create the shopping list with the quantities. Now you might scratch your head thinking, well, what's this about? Well, it's based on the following slide. Sorry, it's based on a different document, which I will now share. You'll have access to because I'll have emailed it to you so you can have a look at. So these are the different items here. You've got fruit salad, 240 grams. The original value is £2 and it's been reduced by 15%. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but what you need to do is have a look at this card, decide which items you want and how many, find out the new prices, and they all have an increase or reduction on them. So you'd find out how much they are now worth. So that is your bigger task for today. So remember, 4 tasks you're doing. So find the costs of each item. Write what items you wish to choose and how much. Check you're in budget and create a shopping list. You then give yourself 5 marks. At this point, I'm going to ask you to pause the video and start working through this. If you're not sure on percentage increase and decrease, I will cover that in a separate video. Okay, how did you get on? So the marking criteria is as follows. Okay, so if you went through your shopping lists and you found the cost of decreased or reduced items by looking at the original value times the percentage it had been reduced by, then divide it by 100. That's the formula you've used. That will be 1 mark. To find the increased items, You look at the original value times in percentage increase, and you divide by 100. That's 1 mark. And you need to remember also, you add the increased rate to the original value. So if an item cost £10 and it being increased by, let's say, 10%, it would then be £10 and then 10p. Your next mark is given for new item prices multiplied by the quantity, so find out how much they cost, and then prices added to make the total. So finding out how much each item costs for the quantities and then totaling it up. Your final mark is doing £75 minus the shopping total. And you should be getting an answer of 0 or above. Can't accept negative numbers for this. You've been given a budget of £75. So remember, if you're in the real world, you can't just go out and go into minus. Okay. So your next task, top row is for level 1 learners. The bottom row is for level 2 learners. Okay, so the bold darker blue at the top, that's a level 1 question. Lighter blue is level 2. Okay. So level 1s, I want you to work through the following question. Feel free to pause the video if you wish when I've said it. Tommy visits Lidl in his local area and finds out that items are roughly 20% cheaper than their original prices at Sainsbury's. So be careful. I've included that word original to catch you out. Be aware. Should Tommy shop at Lidl's or Sainsbury's? Explain your answer. When I say explain your answer, that means do the maths, but also write a sentence saying what you think. Tommy should shop at Lidl's or Tommy should shop at Sainsbury's because. The next one here is Molly finds a cake at Tesco which serves 10 people, but it costs 40% more than the new price of the Sainsbury's version you found. Which one should she buy? Explain your answer. Level 2 learners, your first question is Nazza visits Tesco's and finds that items are 13.5% more expensive than Sainsbury's original prices. Again, be careful of that word original. Bearing in mind the new price changes at Sainsbury's, should Nazza shop at Sainsbury's or Tesco's? Explain your answer. Your next question is Waitrose are currently selling the items you wish to purchase at a total cost of £73.64. The items were reduced by 45% for a summer deal. What was the original cost? Were they initially cheaper or more expensive than Sainsbury's rates? Explain your answer. Okay. If you guys could pause the video to do any working out you need at this point, and I will then show the answers in a minute so you can have a look at them. Okay, so these are the answers. So at level 1, for the first question, you get 1 mark for recalculating your shopping list with the original prices. You've got their original total times 20 divided by 100. Then the original price minus the previous step. That's another mark. Decision made based on the cheapest option, 1 mark. There wouldn't be much point of a question like this. Should they shop here or there if it wasn't about money? You know, answers like, oh, well, Sainsbury's stuff is better quality than Tesco's doesn't really come into the maths. For the second question, you've got the Sainsbury's price is 2 times £3.60, gives you £7.20 for 1 mark. The Tesco price is £3.60 times 40 divided by 100, which is £1.44, added to £3.60, that gives you £5.04. And you then make your decision based on the cheapest option. level 2s. So your first mark is given for recalculating your shopping list with the original prices. And the second mark is given for the shopping list recalculation times 13.5 divided by 100. So that's the Sainsbury's total plus the previous step. That gives you the 1 mark. Next, you should make your decision on the cheapest option involving a comparison between Tesco's and Sainsbury's new totals. Give yourself 1 mark if you've explained that. For the final question, it's £73.64 divided by 55 times 100 gives you £133.87. That's for 1 mark. Second mark is given for calculating the difference between Waitrose new cost and Sainsbury's cost. And then the last mark is the decision made based on cheapest option involving a comparison between Sainsbury's and Waitrose's totals. So remember, if you don't make a decision on these ones, or a mathematical decision, you will miss marks. That happens in the exams often. Okay. If anybody of you wish to look at more information about adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions, I know this is a common issue. I'm going to be giving you out this PowerPoint. So have a look at the fractions basic introduction, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. I'm not going through it in this recorded lesson, but I'll give you a link to another tutorial where you can practice this. So what are your goals for next week? Okay, so next week we'll be back in the class as normal, online. I'd like you to do your 5 hours of learning as usual. And this time you should aim to complete the following modules. You should complete the money section for level 2 learners, or if you're level 1, the section is called money and time. You should also complete the length, weight, and capacity modules for BKSB resources and skills check. So that's quite a good chunk out of the measure. Level 2 learners, you should also complete compound measures, BKSB resource and skills check in the measure section. Your final goal is to complete the BKSB resources and skill checks for handling information and data. So it's just a 1 module for that one. So you're looking at doing money or money and time, length, weight, and capacity, compound measures if you're level 2, not level 1, handling information and data. Thank you very much for watching the video. I will be back on Tuesday. No, sorry, I believe it's Wednesday actually. Wednesday, the 1st of December, if you have any queries at all. In the meantime, good luck everyone, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Take care.